Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again, and today I'm very excited to do a full unboxing and first experience with the M75 series non-mechanical, that's right, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, bitch! Magnets!
Switch keyboard by DrunkDeer. So yeah, huge shout out to DrunkDeer for sending me this keyboard for you guys specifically. So with that, let's get into it. So this is a magnetic switch keyboard. So it's technically not a mechanical switch keyboard, and no, it's not a membrane switch keyboard either. So this still falls underneath that kind of premium custom keyboard that you'd find maybe from companies like Apple Maker, like I did a review on earlier. And I'm really excited to see what is this switch type going to be like when it comes to gaming, everyday typing, actuation speed, feel, and also its sound. Is it going to be more of a linear sound or is it going to be clicky? I honestly don't know what to expect since this is my first ever non-mechanical magnetic switch board. That being said, I'm reading it straight from their website. It states that it has an ultra response speed of 10 times faster than any traditional mechanical keyboard. DrunkDeer driver program, so customizable key value and backlight effects. So this does have RGB with a lifetime keyboard upgrade through software for free. Again, not really 100% sure what that means, but it sounds very cool and interesting. Ready to use, so this is available for Mac OS and Windows right out of the box. It uses USB Type-C and a C to A adapter, which comes in the box, which will work with both, again, PC and Mac. And at the moment, there's two colors, black, and I believe this is the white variant. And then they have one type of switch, which is a linear switch, what it states on their website. So they should not be clicky by any means, which I'm fine with. I'm not a huge fan of clicky keys as it is. And reading what they're talking about on the magnetic switches. So it says our first answer of non-mechanical switches. Magnetic switch actuates through the half effect. There isn't any sensitive hardware like metal, leaf, pin, or optics. It has an adjustable actuation distance with an actuation range of 0.4 to 3.6 millimeters. Magnetic switches can be adjusted to meet your needs, offering different kinds of pressing tactile for gaming and or typing. So this is pretty cool, and I think this all comes down to their software. I think in the software you can actually tell the keyboard when should it actually actuate for a key press. So if you're really only gaming with the keyboard, you don't use it for anything else, you might want to switch it to that 0.4 millimeter actuation, so be as fast as basically possible. But if you're going to be using it for everything like I am, so you're using it for editing or just for typical use on a keyboard and typing, you might want to have a little bit of a higher actuation distance just because you don't want to accidentally be hitting keys all the time because that can get quite annoying. But the fact that you can change that on the fly, that's a game changer. And according to their website, again, you're going to have to take this stuff with a grain of salt because I don't know how to actually test this myself, but they are stating that with the DrunkDeer magnetic switches, they can have a response time of 0.4 milliseconds, while the traditional mechanical switch apparently has a 6 millisecond response time. So according to them, this is the fastest actuation on the market. This does have pre-installed sound-absorbing foam and a bottom pad for really a high-quality typing experience. It doesn't sound hollow or have much noise inside. Again, we'll get into that in a minute when we actually test it out. And apparently these switches are pre-lubed as well from the factory, so that's cool to see, but it is a customizable keyboard, so you could essentially take it apart yourself, and also you could put your own lubricant and stabilizers and all that in there as well if you wanted to make it custom. So with that, going around the box here, there's nothing too crazy to look at. It is a 75% key layout. So it's going to be smaller than like a typical full-size keyboard. There's not going to be a numpad or anything like that on this device, but it is going to be a little bit larger than like a 65%, which I have over here by Apple Maker. Going to the back, it says DrunkDeer, founded by keyboard enthusiasts, invites you to discover greater diversity of mechanical keyboard. We present a new concept, non-mechanical switch with no physical contact. It breaks the limitations of traditional mechanical switches and offers a new level of comfort and performance. Join the revolution with DrunkDeer. Time is now. It's kind of a silly, like, I kind of hope they're self-aware, but it's kind of a silly, it's like, we are something crazy new and you need to follow us and join the cult is kind of what I'm getting vibes from. But I think this is meant to be a little bit like, haha, that we need to understand this is kind of cheesy. And and that's the reason I think of that is because of the name DrunkDeer. I mean, they're obviously, it's kind of a silly name, but I actually love it. I love the name of it. So with that, let's get into the actual box itself. So we're going to cut the plastic. Rip this off. Alrighty, we'll lift off the top cover. There we are. Looks like we just have a bit of foam here for protection. There's the keyboard itself. And yes, this is the white variant. You can see that we also have a blue shift and a orange enter. Kind of unique little style there. And then in here, looks like we got a couple accessories. So we do have a keycap puller, which is cool. You know, kind of chintzy and cheap, but they all are. At least they give it to you for free. And we do have a nice braided USB-C cable. And this is an adapter, kind of unique here. So it's USB-C to USB-C, which actually is nice because these are more rare. And they do include a nice little adapter, which is USB-C to USB-A 3.0. So that is also cool. But very interesting that it is an adapter, not just a straight USB-C to A. But it looks like it's reasonably sized cable. I think it's probably about 6 feet in length. It's nice and braided, feels high quality. So that is awesome to see. I'm going to be using my coiled cable though for the meantime, but that is nice that they give you that for free. And then getting in here, let's take off the plastic cover. And it looks like that may be all that's in the box. So we're going to put the box to the side. And here we are. This is the A75. This is a wired keyboard. I do not believe it has any Bluetooth or any of that features. So this will not take batteries, but it is a plastic build. So it is lighter in the hand than most mechanical keyboards out there. So we'll keep that in mind, which, I mean, for some people that might be a good thing. For some people it might be a hindrance. For me, I'm kind of in middle road. So I do like a solid steel or a metal build to a keyboard, making it really heavy and feel substantial. But on the other hand, if I ever was to bring this to someone's house or bring it on the go, like if I'm traveling, this makes it really easy to pack away in a backpack and not really have any issues with it. Going to the back here, we see the DrunkDeer logo, A75. We do have feet. Looks like there's only one adjustment for the feet, sadly. I kind of wish there was 2 different sides for it, which is a little bit of a bummer. I also see there is an input here for a USB dongle. So that is kind of interesting. I wonder if there's a model of this that is wireless. Not 100% sure. But that being said, even though it is a plastic build, it feels strong. It has very little flex. It feels very durable plastic. It's not cheap plastic or like a bendable plastic, but it feels really nice. I mean, premium, I guess, is the word that's really jumping out at me. We do have a knob here as well, but I think the knob, is it removable? It doesn't seem to be, so I don't think the knob is removable. It feels plastic with a coating on it. It does not feel metal, such as the difference with like my Apple Maker over here. This does have a metal knob, so that is a big difference there. So they are cutting a few corners here, probably to lower the price in some way, because these switches are probably where most of the money is going to. And I gotta commend them for that. For trying something new, trying something different. So understandable if they're cutting a few corners here. So this is an all plastic design, so you gotta keep that in mind. But let's see how it feels with the actual keyboard. First impression, stabilizers feel really good. Like, not hearing much tone difference going around the keyboard, around the space bar. Same with the shift, enter, and backspaces. They all feel really good. Stable. Keys themselves, though, they are a little bit louder than I prefer. I do like a more silent switch of a linear switch, but that being said, they sound really good. And I'll have a proper sound test, of course, in a minute when I put the microphone up to the keyboard. But just first impressions, I do like the feeling of the typing experience. There's not much give at all with the keys themselves. But to be honest with you, like if I was to put this right neck and neck with a mechanical keyboard, I'd be hard pressed to tell you like, yes, this is not a mechanical switch. So like for instance, if I hit in the B versus B, they feel exactly the same. I'm using the same amount of pressure to press it all the way down. Yeah, it's literally like neck and neck. You put a blindfold on me, I would never be able to tell you a difference depending on if it's a mechanical switch or the magnetic switches that they have here. So with that, let's plug it in, see what the RGB effects look like, give it a quick typing test, and then we will give you guys a sound test. So as you can see, we have the keyboard plugged in and ready to go, and everything is running flawlessly. I have the software downloaded and installed on my computer at the moment. We'll be going over that very shortly of all the features and everything that it can do. But I did want to say that one of the coolest features that's with these software, as what I stated before, is that because these are magnetic switches, we have the ability to alter the distance needed in order to create the actuation for the key to be pressed down to then send the signal to the computer, which is really sweet. But if I was to make it sound a little bit more simple, essentially, let's say I wanted to play a game and I wanted to make sure my button presses are happening as fast as they possibly could. So by the 0.00000 millisecond that I click the S key, I want it to tell the game I'm hitting the S key. So in that sense, you would go into the software and make sure that the actuation distance is as small as it can be. However, if I'm writing an essay for a college thesis or something like that, and I want to make sure I have the little amount of spelling mistakes as possible, while having some decent travel and not having any issues with overlapping keys, I would probably go for a medium distance in these settings, because then you wouldn't have the issue of, let's say I go to hit the S key and I accidentally brush the D, it's not going to accidentally hit both at the same time. Whereas if you have the actuation distance as small as it can go, then yeah, you barely touch the D key and it's going to register that you hit it, and thus it's going to put S and D together, and that will cause a spelling mistake. So with that, let's go into the actual software here. We can show you the different effects we can do with the keyboard and all the different settings. So in the general tab here, we can see we have the device info, which just shows you the current model we're using, the firmware and software versions. And this is a beta, by the way. It is a beta 2. So this is still probably going to be in beta when the device launches on April 28th. But for what it's worth, everything should be working the way it has been. And I haven't run into any glitches myself. So that is good to see. And you can upgrade the firmware rate from the software as well, which is cool. And then going over to the keyboard area, this is where we can edit all of our keyboard shortcuts or set up macros for what we would like with our function 1 and function 2 keys. So that is, again, one of the coolest features of this keyboard as well. You get 2 different functions, so you can set a plethora of macros with this guy, depending on what you want to do with it, whether it's for gaming or just maybe for video editing and stuff like that, which can be very useful for many different types of operations. You can see over here, we can switch between Mac and Windows mode right on the fly. Now, I don't know why it says this keyboard is in Mac mode by default. That might be something they have to look into. I couldn't figure out a way to actually change that or to make that go away. But I mean, it works. Like if I hit the Windows key right now, it opens with the Windows menu. So I don't really know where the issue is there. But yeah, might just be something to do with the beta. That being said, these are all the different functions that you can set each key to do if you wanted to mess around with them, including multimedia and even mouse buttons, which is pretty interesting. So for instance, if you go into the function 1, by default, there actually isn't anything listed. I just made this the color cycle just to see what it did, and it does work. So what we're going to do to test this out, we're going to go up to the function 1 key like before. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go on here, and I'm actually going to change it to, let's do a different effect. So I don't know, it doesn't really matter if you do the plus or the minus, it just kind of goes through a cycle, it looks like. But we're going to set that to an effect. We're going to hit save. And now we're going to switch over to my overhead camera here. We're going to hold the function button and we're going to hit F1 to see if it changes the effect. And sure enough, there we go. So that's kind of an easy little diagram of what you can do with this software. Going back into it here. So you can change any of these keys to do whatever you want. And that's just function 1. And then if you want another whole page of functions, you got your function 2, which by default looks like we have different brightnesses. These are the different effects here, and then color cycle. So if I was to switch back over to my overhead, we hit function 2 this time and we use the arrow keys, we can actually change the effects just by doing it that way. So it's pretty neat. I like this ability to be able to change these right on the fly and change your macros just like that. And especially to have 2 different functions. That's honestly really cool. And I've never seen that before on any custom gaming PC keyboard out there. Moving on to the sensitivity, this is what I was talking about before with the actual actuation of the key press. You can change and you can make it even to individual keys, which is pretty insane. I thought this was just going to be a one set, like you can change the entire keyboard to being a certain height actuation. But the fact you can manipulate this to any key on the entire keyboard is actually pretty cool. So for instance, I don't know, if you want just your WASD for most gaming situations, you can have those be an insanely short actuation press, which I think it'd be, I'm trying to think here in my mind, would it be the higher it is, the quicker it'd be? I think that's how it goes. So this would be the fastest actuation, this would be the slowest, because where this ball is where the actual magnet has to touch in order for it to actuate. So let's do it up here. Or maybe it is the opposite. I don't know. I'm very dumb. Maybe it is the higher it is, the longer it takes you to press down to touch the magnet in order to then actuate. So yeah, maybe this is the fastest it would go. So if you want your WASD to all be as fast as they possibly could, this would be the setting that you'd want to have it set to. So you can also have it start tracking keystroke and enable secondary sensitivity, which is pretty cool. The one thing I couldn't find is how to select all at once in order to just do a default sensitivity that you maybe prefer. So if I wanted every single key to be the exact same, I wish I could click and drag and select every single one, but there's not really an option to do that. I even tried holding like shift and click multiple of these and it won't let you do that. Maybe control. Yeah, you can't select more than one at a time. So kind of a bummer, but you will have to go through this and hit every single one that you want to mess with. So again, I would recommend if you're just doing this for gaming, just do the WASD and maybe the space bar. And then for everything else, there's really no need for it. But it really just comes down to your own personal preference. And the fact that you can do this is insanely cool. And you can also set different profiles just like you could with the keyboard. So if you want to save a certain profile for gaming, you can do that and then have one for typing, like if you're writing a paper, and you can switch between them on the fly. So at least they have that, so that's really nice, but it is kind of a bummer again that you can't select multiples at once to mess with them. And then moving into the LED effects, these again are the cool little fun RGB effects that you see pretty much on every gaming keyboard out there. It's nothing new, it's something revolutionary, but I have to say their RGB on this keyboard is brilliant. It's extremely bright, it's vivid. Even with my studio lighting shining on this thing, you can still see very vividly the color shining through, so I gotta give them props for that. But yeah, coming into here, we have the always light, rotate marquee, which was the default one, which just has like a rotating spin. If I had to have any critiques for the software, and this could all be fixed in time, I would love for it to display the effect on here before having hit save to make it send it to the keyboard. It's just a little critique. It's something, you know, groundbreaking or anything that would like maybe not want to buy the keyboard, but it is something that I think they should implement because every other manufacturer out there allows you to see the effect on here before you send it to the keyboard physically. And we always light, spectrum mode, which just goes to the different colors, breathing effects, light by press, stars, wave spectrum. And I can show you a couple of these. I'll hit save, switch over to my other camera here, and you can see this is the wave spectrum, center surfacing or surfing. Looks like just like a wave going left to right, surfing down. So this is a wave going up, down. Ripple effect, which I think this is if you type, it'll, yep, send out a ripple, which is pretty cool. Glowing fished. Interesting. So yeah, a lot of different interesting effects on here that you can mess with and alter yourself. So another thing too is you can't really manipulate the keyboard too much with their effects here. So for instance, like with Razer Synapse, you can go through and individually select each key and manipulate them to each effect. It doesn't look like you can do that here. Let me see. Does it let you choose multiple keys at once? No, doesn't seem to be. So again, this could all be stuff that comes in the future. We do have a custom mode, it looks like, and here we go. This is kind of what I was looking for. So in custom mode, you can select individual keys and have them do a certain color if you want. So let's say I want a WASD. So it's like you can select them, but you can't deselect them all at once, which is kind of interesting. So you're gonna have to go through and manually click and get rid of all these. All right, and now we want just WASD selected. We're gonna make it blue, and we're gonna save that. So surprisingly, it's actually making them red for some reason, or more orange, I should say. Now, is that because of the color group, maybe? Nope, that selected everything again. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm seeing it now. So what you have to do is, let's say you want them to be all white, so just glowing in the back, right? But you wanted just the WASD to be blue. So we're gonna click cyan as my color, and now we select them like that. Hit save, and there we go. So you can't, let's do a different color, more like darker color, that shows through a little easier. There we go. So now we have all the white LEDs around everywhere else, and then we have WASD as showing through as red. So that is essentially the custom way to do it, which I'm really glad they have this ability. That's really cool. So coming back to my other point though, is that you can't really edit the already made effects in the way that you'd personally want. So for instance, like with the rotating marquee, we turn that on, and as you can see, we have a rotating effect, right? But with this one, I don't know, does it let you select them? Yeah, there's no way to select the individual keys, at least that I can see. You can't change the colors or do anything here either. So it's kind of interesting they have these options that say color and custom color and all that, and you can, for some reason, highlight keys, but they don't actually let you edit the colors of these, because what if I wanted, I wanted the spectrum color to look like this, which is really neat, but then on top of that, let's say I wanted to do WASD as just a static blue or something like that, right, to show them off. Or let's say you play League of Legends, you want QWER as a different color, right? It's interesting that they have what looks to be like a precursor of what could be, but we don't at the moment have that option. So that is something to keep in mind, that we have a ton of predetermined effects, which is really cool to see, just not a lot of customizability. So I hope in the future DrunkDeer will improve on that and add more to the software itself. But for what it is, what we get right now out of the box is actually really well done, and it doesn't have any lag or anything. The effects look really good. And again, the LEDs look amazing. These are some of the brightest LEDs I've seen on a custom gaming keyboard. And then on the last page here, we have the macro editing screen, which is just like any other keyboard. And you also have the default macros as well as the function 1 and function 2. And you can have macro lists saved as well, just like you could with your profiles. So all in all, very neat and pretty easy to use software. Some of these companies out here for gaming keyboards make really convoluted softwares. This one seems pretty legit. It seems pretty easy to follow. I like the imaging. I like the bright colors and the big text, and it's just, they made it look really easy. And I like the imaging here, even with changing the sensitivity to show you the keycap, or that switch, I should say. Yeah, everything just seems pretty well put together. I don't really have any gripes to really say about the software, other than just a few things that are missing that I know could be added in the future. So for what it's worth, I think this software is really good, and I gotta applaud DrunkDeer for making it so user-friendly. Coming to the typing experience. So first things first is, like I stated before, there's only one level to these feet. So kind of a bummer. It's a little bit too high for me. I wish there was 2 different options at least for the height adjustment. So DrunkDeer, if you have a second iteration of this keyboard, because I gotta remind you guys that this is their first attempt at a full-blown keyboard. So if you go to their website right now, this is the only product that they sell. So I understand it's a first round for them, and that's why I'm not going to be too harsh on them, because everybody starts from somewhere. But I want to give constructive criticism where criticism is due, so that they can make a perfect second iteration and they can continue to be successful, because I want to see that and I love to see that. So yeah, definitely next round, make sure that the feet actually have at least 2 different height adjustments, just for some people that have, they like a little bit of a tilt, but not to this extent. So this is a pretty high tilt. So for now, I'm going to leave the feet down and the keyboard on the ground. I haven't talked about the keycaps yet. So these are ABS keycaps. They are shine through, as you can see, which is really good to see. It's pretty much the same as my other keycaps that I have on my Epo Maker. These I bought custom, and they are pretty much just like switches, hot swappable. So you just use this little tool here. You can pry off the keycap, put that to the side, and you can put your own on there if you'd like, as long as they're the correct size. So as you can see, fits perfectly. It actually almost matches perfectly with the shift. I might stick with that because I'm not a huge fan of the orange, but I do like the creativity, so can't really fault them there. But yeah, so you can swap out the keycaps, as you can see, to whatever you like if you don't necessarily like the color choices they give. I do love the white outer shell of the main board. And now this does have an aluminum plate underneath, and like I said before, it does have sound absorbing foam. However, I must be honest that the typing experience, even though it does feel really good, it is loud. This is a very loud keyboard, and I don't know if it's necessarily like it sounds hollow, but it really punches through with the stabilizers. So with the space key specifically. So here's the sound test. I just want you guys to see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to adjust the microphone down to the keyboard itself, and let's do a full sound test. All right, so that was the sound test. You guys probably could hear as well as I can hear in person that it doesn't sound amazing. I've definitely used keyboards that sound a lot better, and I'm not going to put them up against this one in this video. I think, again, that's just unfair, and I don't want to be bashing these guys because I am truly grateful they sent this to me pre-production unit before the final release, and again, it's their very first attempt at a mechanical keyboard. Well, you know, non-mechanical keyboard. And when it comes to switches themselves, based off the performance I'm seeing, they rock. I mean, these things are great. They're super quick. If, you know, it's impossible for me to test 1000% to say, are they technically faster than my linear switches on like my Epo Maker or my Glorious keyboard? It's impossible really to tell. It really comes down to feel in hand. How often do I do spelling mistakes based off the actuation speed? And is it good for gaming? You know, is it good for typing? Is it good for all the above? And being that this is a 75% keyboard, it is a little bit larger than like a 65%, but you get a little bit extra space here. It looks more clean in my opinion than more scrunched up with like the key, with the arrow keys and stuff like that. You do have these separated home page up, page down, and end keys on the right side, and you still have that nice media knob, which the knob feels really great. Even though it is plastic, you really forget about it immediately. It has individual little notches knowing which exact point you are on the turn for your volume, and then it clicks in for mute or play pause depending on how you set it up in the software. You can also probably see that they have dedicated media buttons up here as well, so you have rewind, play pause, forward, mute, volume down, volume up, brightness up and down, and a ton of other options, which is really cool to see right on the keyboard. I mean, that's really unique. I don't really see that too often with these type of custom keyboards. I also forgot to mention that in the box, they do come with the window keys. So by default, it has actually the Mac keys on here. I didn't even notice that. So these are the command and then the opt buttons for a Mac OS, but it does come with the Windows variants as well. So you can switch it to Alt and the Windows key. So that is really cool right out of the box. I mean, it is interesting that they put by default the Mac keys for like a gaming, you know, toward keyboard, but it is what it is. And it's nice that they give you both so you're not, you know, out of the water there. So all in all, my first impressions, I would give this a solid 7 out of 10 attempt at the moment. I think the whole magnetic switch thing, I don't believe it's a gimmick. I really do believe they are faster switches than linear. I think they are great switches and they will last a long time, but it's new technology. It's something that we haven't really seen before, and the mainstream people that you know and love for the mechanical keyboards, they haven't jumped on that wagon yet. So that's why I think it's more expensive for companies like DrunkDeer to make these type of switches for these keyboards. And that's why I want to give them all the props and praise that I can, because that's why the price is up there. For a second iteration, my biggest takeaways here is make sure that the feet have more adjustable angles, maybe have an option for a metallic or a aluminum base plate instead of just plastic, make the volume knob metal as well, not just a piece of plastic, have the internal dampening foam. Maybe it needs to be thicker, I don't really know, but try to do something about the stabilizers. Just they're a little bit too tinny, a little bit too loud. And same around the F, G, and H keys. I do hear like a pinging or some type of ringing noise if you're typing really quickly. So those are just things that, you know, this is first iteration. I wasn't expecting perfection, but these are small things that I know they can fix. And once they are fixed, I really do think this would be my favorite keyboard by far, because I am a gamer, but I also use my keyboard for everything else. So even though speed is really great to have, especially if you're in the competitive gaming space, it's also nice just to be able to change those settings to have it the way you want, so you have less spelling errors and stuff like that while typing. And the fact you can do that with this thing on the fly is really cool. It's a really neat concept, and I'm excited to see the growth of it, and I'm excited to see the growth of this company. So DrunkDeer, thank you so much for allowing me to test this out before launch for you guys. And everybody who's watching this video, definitely go show them some love. Follow them on their socials, whatever you can do just to try to hype these guys up for their first ever launch of a keyboard. And if you do want to test this out yourself, there'll be a link in the description below to their official website so you can purchase one when they go live in April. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a lovely day. Make sure to leave a like, share, support as always. Hope you subscribe for the next one. Peace. Hey guys, Nick here once again, and I just wanted to pop into the very end of the video to give a special shout out to my channel members. If you don't know what a channel member is, essentially these wonderful people are using their hard-earned money to help keep the channel alive. So that's why I want to give a huge shout out to these guys, because they're amazing. And if you want to become a member yourself, you can do it as easily just by clicking on the little join button below every single one of my uploads, or just by going to my channel. There is 4 different tiers depending on how much you would like to support each month, and you can join for as little as $2 a month. And trust me, even if it's $2, it helps a ton, and it adds up at the end of the month so that I can get more games for you guys to review or make retrospective videos on, or to buy new technology such as new computer parts, or really anything to keep the channel afloat and to make more content for you guys. So with that, I want to thank Kenneth Fellows, Hull Healers, Boatworks and Restoration, Wade Lady, Vinny Severman, and Thrasher to Black Stallion. You guys are all amazing, and thank you so much for all the wonderful support. This channel is just growing and growing every single day, and I can't wait to see where this channel leads us. So with that, have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Peace.